Hello Algebra 1. Today we are continuing with point slope and slope intercept form, but today we are going to write point slope and slope intercept form given 2 points. So here's our point slope form again. This is the equation that we used yesterday. We are going to start off today by taking a graph, identifying our slope and our point, and then we'll move from point slope form to slope intercept form. So our slope, we're going to go up and over to find that. And in this graph, we are going up 3 and right 1. So 3 over 1 means my slope is a 3. And I'd like us to use point A here, this guy, so that it's at a 1, comma 2. It is a point, so make sure you write it as an ordered pair. So now we're ready to go ahead and do point slope form. Remember, point slope form starts with our y, and then we'll do the opposite of our y coordinate, so that's a -2 equals my slope, 3, and then x, and then the opposite of my x coordinate, so that's going to be a -1. So now, how do we convert that to slope-intercept form? Slope-intercept form, the s, think of it as standing for solve. So we'll go ahead and we will distribute, which gives us a 3x minus 3. And then to finish solving this, we'll just add our 2 to both sides because we do want to solve for y. And that gives us a y equals 3x. -3 plus 2 is a -1. So here you go. This is your slope-intercept form. And we can actually see this is correct because our y-intercept is right down here at -1. All right, let's try the next one. Slope. I'm going down this time because line's going downhill and over. This is down 4 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my slope, that's a fraction, is -4/5. The point we want to use is point A right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a -5, comma 1. All right, so now I'm ready to do point slope form. Y, and then the opposite of my y coordinate, so I'm going to put a -1, equals my slope. That's -4/5. And then x plus 5. Again, we're doing the opposite of our x coordinate. So there's my PSF, point slope form. It has parentheses. Now I want to distribute and put this into slope intercept form. Y minus 1 equals -4/5 x. Let's multiply -4/5 times 5. So that's a -4. And then remember, we're not done until we solved for y, so let's add our 1 over. And this gives us y equals -4/5 x minus 3. There's your slope-intercept form, and again, we can see we're correct because our y-intercept is down here at -3, where it should be. All right, so how do we write the equation of the line when we are given 2 points? Because the problems we just did, we had a slope and a point that we could find, but here we're given 2 points. Well, it's actually not as bad as it sounds. All you're going to do is first find the slope and then use one of your points to write PSF. Either point is fine, it doesn't matter. It's completely personal preference. So how do we find slope? If you remember, your formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do here. y2 is 10 minus a -4. Make sure you have both negatives. Over x2 is -3 minus 7. And now I'm going to just figure out what this is. 10 plus 4 is 14. Over -3 minus 7 is -10. And then I do want to math frac this. That's a -7/5. Okay, so this is my slope. That's m. And now you can pick whichever point you want. I'm going to pick this one right here, -3, 10. So I'm just going to do y, and then the opposite of that, 10, which is my y coordinate. Here's my slope, and then x, the opposite of my x coordinate, so plus 3. And that's it. That's your point slope form. You could also do the same thing with the first point. The answers will look very different. It would be y plus 4 equals negative 7/5, x minus 7. That's using my opposites. But again, it doesn't matter. Both of these are correct. The reason it doesn't matter, if we go back to our last day of notes, you can see here your PSF looked completely different, but when you end up solving them, you get the same thing. Okay, that's why it doesn't matter which point you use. All right, let's try this again. Slope comes first. y2 minus y1, so that's a 10 minus 5, over x2 minus x1, so that's a 5 minus 0. That's 5 over 5, which does simplify to just a 1. And now you just pick whichever point you want. I like this one, 5, 10, and we write our point slope form. Y, and then the opposite of your y coordinate, so it's a minus 10 equals 1, and then parentheses, and then x, and the opposite of your x coordinate, so minus 5. And again, we're just going to stop. We're going to leave it like this because this is point slope form. Point slope form, we leave it with parentheses. But now you can probably guess we are going to do this with slope intercept form. Okay, so these we will have to solve. There is a third step. Find the slope, write PSF, distribute, and solve for SIF. All right, so let's give this a try. Slope comes first. y2 minus y1, 9 minus negative 7, over x2 minus x1, 1 minus negative 3. That's going to be a 16 over 4. When we divide, we just get 4. Pick a point. I'm going to go with this guy and write point slope form. Okay, so now we're on step 2. Y minus 9 equals, slope is 4, x minus 1. There's my point slope form. Now I need to do step 3, distribute and solve. So let's distribute. And final step, solve for y by adding our 9 over. Negative 4 plus 9 is 5. And there's your slope intercept form. Let's try it again. Slope comes first. y2 minus y1. 1 minus negative 2 over x2 minus x1. Same thing. These become a plus plus. That's a 3 divided by 3, which is equal to 1. Again, this is our slope that we just found. Now you can pick whichever point you want. This time I'm going to go with the first one. Point slope form. Okay, so we're on step 2 here. Y plus 2, again, use your opposites. My slope was 1, parentheses, x plus 2. This is point slope form. Now step 3, distribute and solve. So we'll go ahead and distribute. Just a 1x plus 2. And then we still need to solve for y, so make sure you subtract that 2 over, but they will cancel, so we just get y equals 1x. This means our y-intercept is at 0. All right, final one of these. Again, slope comes first. If you don't have the slope, you've got to find it. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Make sure you have 0 minus negative 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. 0 minus negative 4 is 4. Okay, and we have found our slope. Pick a point, whichever one you like. I want this one. And I'm going to do y minus 1 equals my slope and then x plus 4. All right, I'll go ahead and distribute. Okay, again, point slope form has the parentheses. When we distribute and solve, that's when we're going to get slope intercept form. So I'm just multiplying my 3/4 times 4 to distribute, which is a 3. And then your final step is to add your 1 over. Okay, but wait, we actually did more work here than we needed to. And that is because we had our y-intercept right here. Look at that 0, 4. That's your starting point. See how we ended with a plus 4 here for our final answer? That's this 4 right here. That's the y-intercept. So technically speaking, what we could have done is once we found the slope was 3/4, we could just go straight to this final answer because your b value is in this problem, 0, 4. All right, so if you have your y-intercept, you actually don't have to start in point slope form. You certainly still can. You can see we got the same answer, but that would be a shortcut. We would not have been able to do that for numbers 5 or 6 because neither of these have our starting point, our y-intercept. Okay, so let's look at this question number 8. How do you know when you need to use PSF first before moving to SIF? Okay, and the answer is if you have your y-intercept, which is your 0, comma, you can go straight to SIF. Okay, if you don't have your y-intercept, you are going to have to begin in point slope form. All right, well, let's look at some context for these situations. The original iPhone released in 2007 had a 3.5-inch display that ran on the 2 gig network. Buyers could purchase the 4 gig version for $4.99, or they could spend $5.99 on the 8 gig version. For independent and dependent variable, that would be our cost or our money. Remember, money is always dependent. And the other variable that we're talking about here are your gigs. That would be your independent variable, because the cost would depend on the number of gigs of the phone. So we're going to go ahead and write 2 ordered pairs and find the rate of change here. Remember, your independent variable comes first and then your dependent variable when we write your ordered pairs. So we have a 4 gig version for $499, and we have an 8 gig version for $599. Again, because cost is dependent, it needs to come second in your ordered pair. Okay, so now we're going to find the rate of change. That's just a fancy way of saying slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. $5.99 minus $4.99 is just 100. 8 minus 4 is 4. 100 over 4 is 25. And what would be your unit for this? Well, we did y over x. The y was the cost, so that's dollars per, and the x's we're talking about gigs. So $25 per gig. That's what we're dealing with here. Okay, now we're going to write an equation that models the price of the original iPhone in point slope form. So point slope form is our one with parentheses. We have our slope. You can pick whichever point you want. I'm just going to go with the first one. We'll do y minus our y coordinate equals our slope, x minus our x coordinate. And now we're going to convert to slope-intercept form. Okay, so again, to do that, we'll just distribute 25x. 25 times -4 is -100. And I'm going to add my $4.99 over, which just gives me $3.99. All right, so what does this mean? Well, we already said the 25 means it's $25 per gig. What does this $3.99 mean? Well, the $3.99 is like your starting cost. So that would just be the cost of the phone in general, or the base fee for the phone. Now I want to know how many gigs would a $699 phone have. So $699, let's think about what we would plug this into. $699 is your cost. That is your y coordinate, right? So we're going to go ahead, we're going to plug $699 in for y. Again, that's because it's our y coordinate. So let's plug that in to our equation. And now this is something we should be able to solve from previous units. We will start by subtracting our $3.99 over. $6.99 minus $3.99 is 300 equals 25x. And then go ahead and divide by your 25. And just to save you some time typing that into your calculator, that would mean that you now have a whopping 12 gigs. Ooh. Okay, I want you to check how many gigs you have on your phone right now. It's probably a lot more than 12. All right, so let's finish our lesson today looking at a slightly more updated model of iPhone, which is still already incredibly outdated, but let's look at the iPhone 7. I am really far behind. My iPhone is still a 6S. I definitely need to get a new one. So iPhone 7 sounds great to me, but I know we're probably up at like 11 or 12 or something. I don't even know at this point. So we have the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus. Let's pick a phone. If we were in class, you could pick whichever phone you want. I'm going to pick the 7 Plus. And this is from Apple's website. So we see here that for 32 gigs for the 7 Plus, it is $569. And for 128 gigs, it is $669. So I'm going to go ahead and write 2 ordered pairs for that. Again, cost is dependent, so that will be our second point, or our second number. Okay, so I'm just writing these ordered pairs. And now I'm going to find my rate or my slope. I'm going to do my jumps this time instead of my slope formula. 569 to 669 is plus 100. 32 to 128, let's see. That's a 96. All right, so let's divide these to find our slope. 100 divided by 96. It's going to be a decimal. We'll do nearest hundredth, so 1.04 is what this would round to. And what is this again? Well, what was our unit when we found the slope last time? It was dollars per gig, right? Because our dollars were on top and our gigs are on the bottom. Look at this difference. Back in the day, gigs were 25 bucks per gig. Now they're only $1.04. Ugh, what a world we live in. So now let's write point slope form. Pick whichever one you want. I'm going to go with this one because they're smaller numbers. Y minus my 569 equals this 1.04, that's your slope, x minus 32. Okay, now again, we're going to get some decimals here. That's all right. They won't bite you. Distribute 1.04x. Okay, I want 1.04 times negative 32. It's a negative 33.28. Okay, and then I'm just going to add my 569 over. Add 569, and that's $535.72. And voila, I have my slope-intercept form. Okay, so now let's explore what this means. With the original iPhone, it was a $25 $25 per gig price with $399 for the base cost of the phone. But what this is telling us is that it's only $1.04 per gig, and our base cost for the phone has now upped to $535. Okay, so we can see the price per gig has gone way down, but the starting cost of the phone has gone way up. Look at that. Who knew that cell phones had to do with linear relationships? And now you know. Have a great day. Bye.